would like to share my experience with what my sister and I saw back in Kansas around 1964. I was in first grade and a military brat. My father had gotten orders again to go to Vietnam, so my mom and dad had gone off on a vacation, just the two of them, before he left. We were staying at a family friend's outside of the Fort Riley, Kansas for what I remember was 2 weeks. The house was a nice rancher with a basement and had huge shade trees out back. It was located on the edge of a farm. I can remember riding my bike down the gravel road to the next door neighbor's house to play. It was a mile away, very rural. We were having good times for about a week, then one night it happened. We had a huge electrical storm. There were family members of the people we were staying with visiting for the weekend. The room I was staying in had 2 single beds, and there were 3 of us staying in the room. Since I liked camping, I made a bed for myself between the 2 beds. My sister was sleeping down the hall on the living room couch. I can only tell you my side of the story as fact and relay what my sister said secondhand. What I saw, it was night and we had all gone to bed. The storm was quite something, with lightning and thunder as only Kansas can give. I was lying between the 2 beds, but the storm and flashing was too much, so I scooted up so I could lean against the wall. My head was level with the 2 beds, then with the window above my head. The room would light up. When the lightning would flash, then go dark. It would flash and then go dark. But this time there was something darker in the corner to my right. It was the perfect outline of a person with glowing eyes. The edge was very clear and sharp, and the eyes were a yellow-red. I froze. My heart was pounding, and I was scared stiff. It just stood there for a long time. When the lightning flashed, it would disappear. I stared at it, and it back at me for a long time. Then it moved. It didn't move as a man would move, but the silhouette image just traversed the room along the front of the bed, then my little nook, and then past the second bed. I should have looked down to see its feet, but I couldn't look away from the eyes. But then again, I was a kid and didn't have the rationale of an adult. Hell, my world at the time was about Johnny Quest and G.I. Joes. Anyway, it passed by the second bed, and it got to the door, which was closed. It passed right through the door. A few moments later, I heard my sister scream. I freaked out after it had gone through the door and bolted out of my bedding nook and went to hide in a closet. There was a trap door in the closet, and that room was used to drop dirty clothes into the basement where the washer and dryer were. Once my sister screamed and I was in the closet, the lights came on, and the last thing I remember of the evening was bright light and hands trying to pull me out of the trap door. I guess I was trying to escape the fright that I saw. I don't know. I don't remember anything until the next morning. My sister has told me that she was awoken by the storm and described what I saw too. She says it came down the hall and then right through the front door and into the storm. The next morning at breakfast, I started to mention it, but no one wanted to talk, so I dropped it. Well until the 1990s, when my sister was visiting from out of town. We were talking about growing up, and then she shared what she saw, and then I did. Anyway, I just wanted to contribute my little piece of the puzzle. Number 2. This story involves my middle child. She's 11 now, but at the time this happened, she was 8. Bedtime back then was like pulling teeth. I couldn't get her to sleep to save my life. My youngest child then was 7 and rarely had trouble getting her to sleep. Once I said bedtime, asleep she went. But my middle child would stay awake for hours, it seemed. I'd have to make the usual threats. If you don't go to sleep, you won't get to play tomorrow, etc. At the time, they slept in bunk beds, the youngest on the bottom. One night, I'm doing the same routine. Go to sleep, you have school tomorrow, you need your sleep. It was about an hour after I'd put them to bed that she yelled for me to come in. I went in thinking she's going to give me a bunch of excuses, always needing a drink, need to use the bathroom, I forgot to brush my teeth, blah blah blah. This time, she had tears in her eyes. She's just giving me this pleading look. I ask what it means. She just keeps looking at me with tears in her eyes. I finally said, you know you can tell me anything and I won't get mad. She says there's someone keeping her up. and that's why she can't go to sleep every night. I said, well, your sister is asleep, so you can't blame that on her. She keeps looking at me, so I ask what's going on. Being on the top bunk, she scoots towards the bottom, motions me over. I go over and she whispers that the shadow is keeping her awake. She says it won't let me sleep. It's scaring me. This, of course, surprises me. I had seen shadows myself, full shadows of people darting here and there in my hallway, mostly when I sat on my couch and would catch them moving, and always at night. So this surprised me when she told me this. The first thing in her mother's head is the question, is she making up a story so she won't have to go to sleep? But knowing what I know and experiencing things I've experienced, that thought quickly flew out of my head. I've never said anything to the kids about seeing shadows. I don't want to scare them. I've not even said anything to anyone else for fear of ridicule. Who would believe me? I know what I've seen, and that was good enough. But now my child is seeing things. It's scaring the bejesus out of her. So I asked some questions like, where's the shadow now? At the corner of my bed, at the top. I asked, how do you know it's there now with the light on? She said, he's always there at night. She said the bunk corner is square and that after a while, after the lights go out, it isn't square anymore. It's a person's head. It's round and he's there watching her. I asked, what did it look like? She said he had a round head and his head reaches right at the corner of her bed like he's standing up. I asked why she kept saying he. She said she could just tell it was a man. I asked, does it say anything to you? No, she replied. He just stares at her and scares her. I asked, does he move? She said, sometimes he will move a little bit, but it's always at the head of the bed, staring at me. She can't sleep. She's afraid and doesn't know what it is or what it wants. So I finally told her to lay down and try to sleep. I'll stand there until she falls asleep. She finally fell asleep while I stood there for the longest time. Since I've already seen these things and know basically about them, I got very mad, but I waited a little longer to see if he is going to move. After a while, nothing happened, and me being an impatient person, I just walk over to the bunk bed and stand and stare at the place she said it always is. The rage boiled in me. I was very angry and threatening towards this thing. I simply did what a mother does. I did it quietly. I threatened this thing and told it that whatever it was looking for was not in my daughter's bedroom, and that if it ever came here again and scared my children, I most certainly would find a way to destroy it, as if it never existed. This coming from me, a mother of three children who doesn't want them hurt, let alone scared out of their minds to where they can't even sleep. I told it that it was the lowest life form, the scummiest thing ever existed, to want to scare an 8-year-old child no matter what it wanted. After many other things I said to it must have either left or went to another room, but it's hard to tell, and I'm sure any other shadow person listening got my message. After that happened, she's been able to sleep, and sleep soundly. I've had no problems since, and if I ever have any similar problems, I will find a way to keep my word. There's enough bad in this world already with just the living, let alone children having problems with the non-living. I don't know if it was the same shadow person that was in my daughter's bedroom, and I don't think it was, but I still see shadows moving in my hallway. However, while sitting on the couch one night watching TV, I noticed to my right a black bulky mass about maybe 4 feet tall standing beside me. I noticed it basically just standing there, and it startled me at first, but as soon as I tried to get a full view, it was gone. Just recently, something else happened to me personally in my bedroom, but it doesn't involve a shadow person because what I saw was full and not a shadow. I could describe the clothing, the face, everything. He was as solid as you or I. It seemed to be a man, but whatever it was just stood by my bed and stared at me. And when I screamed, it was gone. This happened a few nights ago, but I think that is either a story or a totally different subject. And that did scare the hell out of me. In any case, I'll just keep my eyes peeled and mind open and deal with these things as they come. first sight of what I now know is called a shadow person was at 5. It was a tall figure, dark and faceless. Its head and shoulders were defined, but the body was not. At 5, of course, I would wake screaming. It always shrunk down or squatted down and was so fast to leave the room. It visited often, but not every night. My shadow person seemed to be assigned to me or fascinated with me because it came no matter where I was. It visited all through my teen years, and it was always the same one, or at least looked and acted just like the same one. We moved twice, and it would come at night. My experiences with this shadow person were very terrifying to me. I would awake, and it would be right there with me. 1 or 2 times I awoke and would have swore it was about to touch me. Of course, immediately when my eyes opened, even before I could catch my breath to scream, it shrank down and ran out the door. It was like it didn't want me to see it, or it didn't mean to get caught, or perhaps it was even scared. I got married at 16 and moved in with my husband. It was probably a good 3 months and I hadn't seen it, so I thought I was safe. But soon enough, the shadow person started coming again. I would wake screaming, which would startle my husband, and he grew very agitated at me. He certainly thought I was a little nuts when I told him about the thing I would see. He just thought I had vivid nightmares. At first, he would sit up in the bed with me and help me get calmed down. Then he would just say, "You're having a dream, go back to sleep." We moved a few times during our early years of marriage, and my shadow person would still visit. The only thing that changed was that as I got older, I could sense its presence. There were very few times it would be able to get up beside me because I began to sense it as soon as it entered my room and would wake to see it at the door. It would crouch and flee. The fleeing was evil, but not like danger. It's hard to explain it, but when I felt its presence, I was afraid. Even in dead sleep, terror rushed over me and woke me. My husband still thought I was nuts and wouldn't discuss the idea of me seeing a ghost. We were married for about 21 years before he finally understood. One night, we were in bed and I just couldn't sleep. I suppose every couple has their side of the bed. Doesn't matter where we moved, the bed, the same side is always mine. Anyway, I was tossing and keeping us both awake, and he suggested I sleep on his side to see if it made a difference. So we changed sides in the middle of the night. It was just after 3 a.m. when we finally dozed off. I was awoken with the terrible feeling. Right about that time, my husband sat up in bed and said, "What the hell?" He jumped up and ran out of bed, chasing whatever it was he saw. When he came back to bed, I could tell he was a little shaken by it. "So, that is what you've been seeing? All this time I thought you were making it up or insane," was all he said. The shadow person had went to my side of the bed and was heading towards my husband. I don't know how or why the shadow person didn't know that it wasn't me, why he was approaching my husband or anything, but after all these years, someone else saw it. From that night, I haven't seen my shadow person. It has been 5 years. On occasion, I still feel that terrifying evil sense of its presence, but when I look around, I don't see it. I know he is somewhere, but just not where I see him. I may be a grown woman, but my head goes under the covers, and I don't get up to get a drink of water or use the bathroom when I get that feeling. Hey guys, Scott here. I just want to take a minute to thank you for watching this video. And if you enjoyed it, please like and subscribe and share it with your friends and social media pages and all that shit. Also, big shout out to the people who submit their stories. I enjoy reading them wholeheartedly. And if you have any crazy shadow person, being, beast, animal encounters that you'd like to share yourselves and see featured in one of these videos, please, please, please send them to the email that is on the screen, and I will most definitely get back to you soonish. Sound fun? All right. Well, thanks again, guys, and I will see you shortly.